Suryatej. Mahankali Suryatej is a machine learning engineer at SmartBridge Education Services Private Limited with 4+ years of experience and takes a challenging IT environment like IoT, AI, and machine learning domain. His education background is Master of Technology in the stream of Digital Systems and Computer Electronics, and Bachelor of Technology in stream of Electronics and Communication Engineering. He has worked with various industries in different domains like cloud, in that he is expert in different cloud platforms such as IBM Cloud, Google Cloud Platform, and AWS Cloud. He is diligent, forward thinking, and adaptable to dynamic company, customer, and project needs. He has been successful at motivating teams to meet demanding timeline. He has trained more than 4,500 students during the internship, hackathon, and workshops, and delivered corporate training at CIS. He's also well versed in build different AI model using Jetson TX2. He has delivered more than 20 faculty development programs in various colleges in and around Telangana, Andhra Pradesh, and Tamil Nadu region. He worked on board like Raspberry Pi, NVIDIA Jetson Nano, NVIDIA Jetson TX2. At present, he is working with SmartBridge Education Services Private Limited. I am sure this morning is going to be a productive one, listening to Mr. Mahankali Suryatej on the given topic. On behalf of the organizing team and all the participants, I welcome you, sir, to take over the session. Mr. Suryatej, you can start the session. Surya, sir, you can start the session. Once again, I thank and appreciate the audience for following the ethics of virtual learning. Kindly, I request everyone to mute your mic. If you have any questions, you can post in the chat box.
Yeah. Thank you, ma'am.
Sir,
Am I audible now? Can you please let me know once?
yes, sir, you can proceed now.
Yeah. So thank you, Kanya ma'am, and thank you, MGR, for inviting me. So today we're going to have a discussion on model evaluation techniques of classification models. Okay. So first we'll just talk about what is a classification, and after that, what type of learning comes under a classification.
Can you start your video, sir?
Is a video mandatory, sir?
It's okay, continue, sir.
As the network is a bit low here, it might consume bandwidth.
No problem, no problem.
Okay, so that's the reason we're going to perform. We're going to see what this classification model is, on what learning it comes under, and after that we'll be building a model. We'll be building a model using logistic regression. We'll be having a small discussion on that logistic regression also, and after that we'll be building a hands-on model using Python, using Google Colab. So once the model is being built, we'll be evaluating these classification model using different metrics. Okay, so that's what the session is going to be. So hope all of you are ready to begin the session. So first of all, I'll just share my screen. Just give me a minute. Okay. So first of all, when you talk about classification, so classification is one type of technique which is used in supervised learning. So totally coming to machine learning, in machine learning we are having different types of learning techniques. Okay, in machine learning we are having multiple learning techniques. In that, one of the learning technique is supervised learning, another one is unsupervised, another one is reinforcement learning. These are three broadly classified learning techniques. In that supervised learning, we are having two more classifications or two more divisions done, which is regression and classification. So with a small example, I'll make you understand what is classification. Suppose, uh, just a minute, I'll just make you understand what supervised learning is. The small example, you can just ping me on the chats when I ask any kind of a query or any kind of response from your side. You can just ping on the chats. Okay. So when you talk about supervised learning, okay, so supervised learning technique is a technique where you'll be having an independent variable and a dependent variable to be predicted. Okay, so in supervised learning, you'll be having known parameters. Okay, we'll be having inputs as well as outputs. Okay, as a data set, we need to predict the output based on the given inputs. In simple words, data is labeled in supervised learning. In supervised learning, data is labeled. We'll talk about what is this label data and all. Suppose take an example of house price prediction. House price prediction. Okay, so in this house price prediction, just consider you were asked to build a machine learning model to predict the price of the house given some parameters. Okay, so what are the parameters which are affecting the effects in predicting the price of the house? What are different parameters which are required to predict the price of the house? Can you just let me know, any one of you? What are different parameters which are required to predict the price of the house? Generic parameters. Suppose you're going to buy a house, what are the things you're going to see to estimate the price of the house? In simple words, yeah, area and square feet. Okay, second one, we can just call it as location. Very good. Any other? Number of bedrooms. Okay, so do you have parking or not? And water supply, is there the, yeah, water supply. Okay, so consider these, just let it be an independent room, independent house. Okay, so you're not having any floors. So consider these are the basic amenities which are there. Okay, so area in square feet is one of the parameter, location, number of bedrooms, parking, and water supply. Okay, so these parameters which are there are responsible for predicting the price of the house. Okay, so suppose if you take what is the final end goal you have to do? Predicting the house price. Okay, so in supervised learning, your data set will be in such a way that you'll be having all these parameters. Okay, you'll be having all these parameters as inputs, and you'll be having an output. Okay, the data is labeled stating that, okay, for this area, for this location, for this bedroom, for this number of bedrooms, for this parking availability and the water supply available, the price of the house is something around 30 lakhs. And one more record, you'll be having some area, some location, some bedrooms, some parking supply, and this is the price of the house. Like that, you'll be having a data set labeled in the sense, this is the input, this is the input, and the output is predict the price is this much. Like that, you'll be having a whole data set. Okay, like this, you'll be having a whole data set. Okay, so that's why the data set is called labeled data set, because you're having inputs as well as output. Okay, so when you're having this kind of a data sets where you'll be having an input and an output to be predicted in the data set itself, then we call that learning technique as supervised learning. Okay, now suppose we'll just take one record. Suppose you're having some 360 3600 1500 square feet for suppose. Okay, and a location, let it be Chennai. Okay, I'm not going in detail about specific region. And number of bedrooms, let it be 3 BHK, and parking facility, yes, and water supply 24 hours for suppose. Okay, and the price of the house something around 45 lakhs. Okay, so this is one record. Okay, like this, you'll be having one record, right? Okay, now if you take one more record, in the same scenario, okay, you'll be having something like 1200 square feet, the same columns, 1200 square feet with the location Hyderabad, number of bedrooms 2 BHK, parking facility no, water supply 24 hours. Okay, so if you're having one more record, for this the cost would be something around 30 lakhs for suppose. Okay, Now if you see the output column, this is your input column, and this is your output column. Okay, so this is your input column and you are having your output column. Okay, if you see your output column clearly, for each and every record, is the value varying or not? Just let me know once. If you take a data set, this kind of a data set where you're having area, location, number of bedrooms and input, parking, water supply, if you take each and every record, is the output column remaining constant or varying? On the charts, is the output column varying or constant? On the charts, is the output column varying or constant? Varying, right? So whenever you're having an output column with the continuous values, varying in the sense continuous values, in next record you might be having something like uh, some 25 lakhs or some 23 lakhs. Okay, and in next column you'll be having 25.5, okay, 25.65, and one more column you might be having some 28.95, 98. So you'll be having this kind of varying values or continuous values. Okay, so in supervised learning, okay, in supervised learning, whenever your output column is continuous, whenever in this kind of example where your output column is continuous, then this kind of learning technique then in this type of learning we call it as regression learning or regression type of data set. Whenever your output column is continuous, then we call that kind of a data set as regression data set. Okay, so first one, supervised learning, is your data is labeled in the sense you'll be having input as well as output. Okay, in your data set you'll be able to classify that. So okay, these are the input parameters, okay, and these are the parameters which are required for predicting the price of the house in this example. Okay, in this output column, your output column is continuous. So when your output column is continuous, then it is a regression type of data set. Okay, and one more type which is classification. So classification is nothing but, with the same example, I'll just take one more example. Let it be something like rainfall prediction. Hope you understood regression type of data set. So regression type of data set in the sense the data set in the output column, the values are continuous. Okay, if the output column values are continuous, then it is a regression data set. First of all, when you're going to classify it as a regression or classification, first you have to make sure that whether it is supervised or not. Okay, under supervised we are having two categories. One is regression and classification. So regression is if your output column is continuous, that is regression, and we're going to talk about classification in the next step. So this is the example of a regression data set. Now coming to the classification data set, we'll just take an example of a rainfall prediction. Rainfall prediction. Let's take an example of rainfall prediction. In the rainfall prediction, what are the parameters you're going to have? I'll just summarize some of the parameters. So in machine learning, one more thing, in machine learning we call inputs as independent variables. In regression, sorry, in machine learning we call inputs as independent variables. Okay, and we call outputs as dependent variables. I'll tell you why we call it as dependent and why we call it as independent. So coming to this rainfall prediction, what are different parameters which are responsible for rainfall? Okay, we'll just take some small scenarios. One is temperature, okay, humidity levels, dew point, sea level, okay, and season. Okay, just consider these are the parameters. Okay, and if you want add on any other parameters also, you can just add on. Okay, so in rainfall prediction we are going to predict whether you're going to have rain on that particular day or not, yes or no. Okay, so you'll be having a data set like this where you're having temperature value, humidity value, dew point, sea level, and the season. Okay, whether it is rainy season or winter season. Okay, and so these are different parameters you are having, and the output column is yes or no. Okay, rainfall. In the rainfall you will be having either yes category or no category. Okay, because rainfall will happen yes or no. Okay, so in the temperature, so just consider you're having some temperature as some 20 degrees Celsius with the humidity 64, some dew point. Let's consider without going into in detail about what dew point is. So let's consider some 42, some 1500 meters above sea level, rainy. Okay, so these are different inputs you're having, and output column. So we'll be having output column fixed value, whether it is going to rain or rainfall or not. Just consider you're having S for this record. Okay, so if you see here, you're having these independent variables, and the dependent variable, you can see your rainfall is either going to be either S category or no category. Okay, so you'll be having, if you go throughout your output column, you'll be having either S or no, S or no. You'll be having yes or no in the output column. But when it comes to your previous example of house price prediction, the output column is continuous. Okay, you don't have your data fixed, the value is continuous. So whenever your output is fixed or discrete, we call it as classification. This kind of a data set, we call it as classification. Okay, if your output is fixed, then your output, then this kind of data set, we call it as classification data set. Now why we are categorizing it as a classification or regression? The reason for that is, for classification types of data sets, you have to apply classification algorithms. For regression type of data sets, you have to apply regression algorithms. That's the reason. First of all, as a machine learning engineer, first of all, you have to identify which type of data set is that. First categorization should be whether it is supervised data set or not. If it is supervised, whether it comes under regression or classification. If it is classification, what type of algorithm need to be used? Okay, so why we are calling it as independent variables and dependent variables? Because if you see here, temperature is not dependent on anything. Temperature is not dependent on humidity. Temperature is not dependent on dew point, sea level, or season. Okay, and if you take humidity is also not dependent on these parameters, on these independent variables. Okay, that's why these variables are called independent variables, because they are not dependent on any other parameter. But when it comes to rainfall, so rainfall is dependent on temperature, rainfall is dependent on humidity, rainfall is dependent on dew point, rainfall is dependent on sea level, rainfall is dependent on season. Okay, that's why it is called dependent variable. Okay, so that's why we call inputs as independent variables and outputs as dependent variables. Okay, so these are different examples of classification. One more type of example for classification. Okay, so spam detection, email spam detection. So email spam detection, the output will be whether it is a spam mail or not, yes or no, yes or no. Okay, that's an example of spam detection. Sorry, example of classification. In the same way, something like a diabetic prediction, whether you have diabetics or not, yes or no. Okay, it's not that you should have only two categories. You can have four categories or five categories, but all these five categories should be repeated in your data set. Okay, only these five categories should be repeated in your output column. Then we call it as a classification data set. Is it clear on the charts what is the classification type of data set on the charts? So if your output column is discrete or fixed, then it is an example of classification data set. So for this kind of classification data set, we have to perform classification algorithms. We have to apply classification algorithms. And for classification algorithms, you're going to apply classification metrics. Is it clear on the charts? Understood what is a classification and what is regression? Because this is initially required to know what uh, how to apply this evaluation metrics. Okay, on the chat, is it clear what is a classification? You can also give one more example. Any one of you can give any example of classification data sets? Any classification data set examples? Anyone? One more example can be something like there's a disease called diabetic retinopathy. In that disease, diabetic retinopathy, you're going to classify the disease as whether it is going to be mild diabetic retinopathy, high diabetic retinopathy, or severe diabetic retinopathy, or low diabetic retinopathy. Something like four categories. Okay, yeah. So these kind of examples are comes under classification, whether you have cancer or not. Yeah. Okay, so understood, right? Whether it is a cat or a dog. Okay, book or a pen, something like this. If you're having a data set which has having features, and to classify it, we are having an output column, whether it is yes or no, high or low. Okay, high, low, medium, like this. You can have multiple categories, but these categories need to be repeated throughout your data set. Okay, but when it comes to regression, the data set is the output column is continuous, just like house price prediction. Output column is continuous. Okay, so hope you have understood this one. Now we'll just move on to our actual model evaluation metrics. For perform this model evaluation metrics, okay, so we'll see how it goes. Okay, so for building your model evaluation for verifying a model, first we need to build a model, right? So we'll just move on to build a model. Okay, I'll just give you initially an overview what are different evaluation metrics you're going to have, and after that we'll see how to perform that in your data sets. Perform it on your data sets. Just a minute. Okay, so first of all we'll see an overview, after we'll go in detail. Okay, so first we'll just initially jot down what are different evaluation metrics you're having. Okay, I'll explain when you do the programming part of it, it will be easier for you to understand. Okay, so evaluation metrics, the first one you're having is accuracy score. Okay, as our machine learning models are used for predicting the output, right? So based on the data which was given and which was applied on your algorithm, you'll be getting a model. When you give inputs to your model, it will just give predictions. So how accurate are those predictions is nothing but model evaluation. I'm repeating it one more time. What is model evaluation? So model evaluation is nothing but when you are having a data set. Okay, just like how we had a small example of the data set, right? When you're having some 1 lakh records or 2 lakh records of this kind of data sets, when you apply this data set on a particular classification algorithm, you'll be getting a model out of it. Okay, model is nothing but some kind of a rule or a formula. You'll be getting a formula out of it or a rule out of it, which is nothing but a model. So when you apply some real-time data to that model, you'll be getting predictions. You'll be getting can you please mute your audios? Okay, so you'll be getting some predictions. Those predictions, how good are those predictions, are being evaluated by these evaluation metrics. Okay, the first one we are having is for classification. I'm specifying it for classification models, these metrics are used. So accuracy score, the first evaluation metric is accuracy score, which is a very basic evaluation metric. So it is nothing but ratio of number of correct predictions to the total number of input samples. Suppose you are having some 100 records, 100 test data. Test data is nothing but the data which is going to be applied on your model to get predictions. So suppose if you apply 100 inputs, you'll be getting 100 outputs. Okay, so total number of correct predictions by total number of predictions made. Suppose you're having 100 predictions to be made. In those 100 predictions, we got some 70 predictions as correct. Okay, so the accuracy score will be 70 by 100, which is nothing but 70%. Okay, it's very basic accuracy evaluation metric. Okay, so number of correct predictions by total number of predictions made. Okay, just like percentage in simple terms. Okay, suppose you're having some 1000 records, 1000 test data, or 1000 records to be applied on your model. Okay, you'll be getting some 1000 predictions. Out of those 1000 predictions, how many are correct predictions? How are you going to know the correct predictions, whether it is correct or not? So in general, in machine learning, if you're having some 1 lakh records as your data set, okay, suppose you're having some 1 lakh records as your data set, you don't apply all the 1 lakh records to build a model. Okay, we'll be leaving some 20% of the records for testing your model, because the test data will be having input as well as output, right? In the test data, you'll be having input as well as output. Okay, so this test data will be used for testing your model, which is having known outputs. Okay, so with only, if you take 80% of 1 lakh, 80,000 records will be used for building your model. 20,000 records, which is having inputs as well as outputs, will be used for testing your model. Okay, so these 20,000 inputs will be sent to your model. It will be giving some 20,000 predictions. You will be having already known 20,000 outputs. Okay, so we are going to compare this known 20,000 outputs with the predictions. Then you will be getting the accuracy of it. Okay, so number of correct predictions by total number of predictions made is your accuracy score. Okay, and one more we are having is confusion matrix. The word itself says confusion because initially you won't be in a position to understand this, but with a small with a small intuition, I'll just make you understand this one. Okay, so though we are going to perform all these on your model, okay, when you're going to do hands-on, we're going to perform all these. Okay, so confusion matrix is nothing but, so confusion matrix is nothing but, suppose you're having actual you'll be getting this kind of matrix when you perform confusion matrix. Okay, so you'll be having predicted class, actual class, predicted class, actual class. So nothing but, suppose the actual value for the given record is yes, the predicted value is also yes. So like that, how many records you got, that is nothing but true positive. Okay, suppose the actual value is yes. Okay, that means the rainfall will be yes. Okay, today you'll be having a rainfall is the actual data. Okay, known data. The predicted model also predicted the same as yes. That means you'll be having rainfall today also today. Okay, like that, how many records you're having, that will be the count here. In the same way, actual value is yes, but the predicted value is no. That means which is a wrong prediction. So like that, how many predictions you're having, how many records you're having, that is nothing but this count. In the same way, actual value is no, that means you won't have rainfall, but model predicted as yes. Like this, how many records you're having is nothing but the count here. Actual value is no, you don't have rainfall today, but the model also predicted as you won't have rainfall. Like that, you'll be, how many records you're having is nothing but the count here. Okay, so here the correct predictions will be true positive, true negative, false positive, false negative are your wrong predictions. Okay, so these are the wrong predictions which are there here, false positive and false negative, and correct predictions are true positive and true negative. Okay, the count. Okay, so initially you may not be in a position to clearly understand this one, but when you perform your hands-on, you'll be able to understand this. Okay, so in simple terms, in layman terms, I'm just explaining this one as the actual data is yes, the predicted data is also yes. It's like that, how many records are having. The same way, the actual data is 0, the predicted value is also 0, that means correct prediction. Actual value is 0, predicted value is 1, which is wrong prediction. 3, like this, 3 predictions, yeah, 3 records you're having. Actual value is 1, predicted value is 0, like that you're having 8. Actual value is 1, predicted value is 1, like that we're having 24. So this is nothing but to clearly understand what, where you're getting wrong predictions, where you're getting correct predictions. Okay, so this small example of confusion matrix, though it will be clearly understood when you go to the hands-on. Okay, just initially just try to understand these. And next one we are having is AUC ROC curves. AUC represents area under curve, ROC represents receiver operating characteristics. So this curve is drawn between FPR and TPR. Okay, you can see here the curve is drawn between FPR and TPR. Okay, so this type of curve will let you know how good your model is. Okay, the curve representation of the curve will let you know how good the model is. Okay, so to evaluate this model, we are going to draw this kind of a curve. To draw this kind of a curve, we are going to use TPR and FPR. Now what is TPR, what is FPR? TPR is nothing but true positive rate, FPR is nothing but false positive rate. Okay, so true positive rate is nothing but TP by TP plus FN. Now what is TP and TP plus FN? If you see here, true positive in the sense TP, TN in the sense true negative, false negative, false positive, FP, FN. Okay, so what are the values you got from this confusion matrix? We are going to use those confusion matrix parameters, and we're going to calculate this true positive rate, and we're going to calculate this false positive rate. When you draw a curve between this TPR and FPR, based on this curve, the representation of this curve with the values which we got, we are going to find out whether it is a good model or not. In the same way, we're going to use precision and F1 score and specificity, or we can also use it as a recall. Okay, these are the parameters which are being used to measure the accuracies of your evaluation. We are going to use this to evaluate your model. Okay, don't test by remember these, as I'm just going overview here. In when you're going to build a model and evaluate it, you will be getting to know. Okay, and how you're going to identify your model is performing good or not. So this is the curve of ROC whenever it is 100% accurate. That means for each record you're getting correct predictions. So suppose you're having 100 records. Suppose you're having 100 records. For 100 records you're getting 100 correct predictions. Then the curve will be like this, exactly inverted 90. But this is an ideal case. You won't get this curve uh, in real time, as it is an ideal case. Okay, so but to get the curve, to make your, to tell whether your model is perfect or not, if you're having a curve like this in this way, okay, where your AUC will be something around 70%, then this kind of a curve you're going, then this kind of a curve we call it as perfect distribution. Okay, so where you're going to say it as the model is performing very well. Okay, the next one we are having is the same, the worst model. So if you're getting the exact 90 degrees like this, where your AUC is 0, as I've said, AUC in the sense area under curve. If your AUC is 0, you won't get, you will be getting the curve like this. So this is also an ideal scenario where for 100 records you're getting 100 wrong predictions, then the curve will be something like this. Okay, so if you're having exact 100%, the area under curve will be 1. If you're having the, what do you call, the actual model, good model behaving with a good accuracy, then the curve will be, area under curve will be something around more than 0.7. So we're going to draw this curve also with the programming. Okay, so this kind of curve is the expected one, and this is the least expected one, because this is a default for every uh, prediction it has made, it has predicted as wrong. Okay, and this kind of a curve will be the ROC curve. Okay, so these are different model evaluation techniques we are going to see in our model building also, while we are evaluating your model also. Okay, so we'll just start with the hands-on of it. So we are going to get all these metrics when you're when you are evaluating your model. Okay, so we'll see how our model performs with a given data set. Okay, so I'll be using a logistic regression algorithm for building my model, and we're going to see how good our model will be performing. Okay, so I'll be sharing you a data set. I'll be sharing your data set in this chat. So just download the data set and place it in your folders, and we're going to use Python programming to build this model and evaluate your model. Okay, so hope all of you are ready here, though you might not been clear with all the model evaluation techniques, because as if you are new to this stream of machine learning, you might feel a bit confused. Okay, don't worry, we'll be going into the programming part of it, where you'll be clearly able to understand how these things are happening. Okay, so but as of now, for the remembrance sake, just remember, for evaluating classification models, you're going to use accuracy score, which just gives a percentage of correct predictions, confusion matrix, which gives you in detail understanding of how many are wrong predictions, how many are correct predictions. Okay, and here also, if you see here, AUC RSA curve, we are going to draw this curve, and we're going to check whether your model is performing accurately or not, and we're going to calculate this specificity, sorry, sensitivity and precision, which is also used as a metric for evaluating your models. Okay, so we'll see what are the thresholds which need to be maintained. So when you got some point, when you got a threshold precision value, whether precision value is what are the value you got, is it a good model or not, when you're going to say whether when it is a good model, what is the precision value you have to get to say it is as a good model. All these things you're going to come across, as it is kind of a theory. Initially you may not be clearly understand, but as per the sake of remembrance, just remember these evaluation metrics. Okay, we're going to draw this AEC RSC curves, and you're going to evaluate our model. Okay. So all of you, first of all, I'll be giving you a data set. Please download the data set and place it in your desktop or wherever you want in your local disks. Okay. I'll be sharing the data set here on the charts. Just check it once. So if you have any doubts, you can just ping on the chats. So meanwhile, I'll be sharing you the data set. So we're going to use Google Colab. So even though if you're not having Python IDE also, we can use Google Colab to build our model. So I'll be using Google Colab to build your model. So I've just given, sorry, just a second. First, we'll see the data set, and after that, we'll go to the program. Remember, we are dealing with classification algorithms. Okay. So just open this. I've shared you one file, Excel sheet, which is nothing but the data set. Okay. So we're going to see that data set and understand it, and then we're going to build a model. Okay. Once you download it, open the data set. I'm opening my data set also. So hope all of you are able to see the data set. So we'll see here what happened. What is this data set is about. Hope all of you have downloaded the data set. Just let me know once on the chats. Yes. Okay. So see here, a data set, as I've said, data set is nothing but you'll be having columns and you'll be having records of the respective columns. In the same way, just like how we have seen house price prediction or weather prediction. Okay. Now, if you see here, the data set is simple here. Okay. So just consider a product. Okay. Just consider some X product. Okay. So a company has surveyed on that product. So he based on that survey. Okay. So a data set was collected. Data was collected from that survey. So in that survey, so for each and every user, a unique ID is being given, and his gender is the gender is known, age, estimated salary, and purchased. Okay. So here the data set speaks in the way like a person of gender male, of age 19, of estimated salary this much, whether he has purchased the item or not, whether he has purchased a TV or not. Okay, in simple terms, but a next item, let it be TV or a fridge or something like that. Okay, so whether he has purchased or not. 0 represents he didn't purchase, 1 represents he has purchased. Okay, male, age, estimated salary, and purchase. User ID is just a column which doesn't have any resemblance, because user ID is not responsible for predicting whether he's going to purchase an item or not. Okay, now it's a small question to you guys. What are the independent variables you are having in this data set? What are the independent variables you are having in this data set? On the charts. What are the independent variables you are having in this data set? Gender, age, and estimated salary. Very good. Independent variables are nothing but the variables which are not dependent on anything. So gender dependent on anything? No. Age dependent on anything? No. Estimated salary? No. Okay. So gender, age, estimated salary are the independent variables. purchase. So if you see purchase, what is the dependent variable? Purchase, because purchase is dependent on gender, age, and estimated salary. So purchase is our dependent variable. Now what type of data set is this on the chats? What type of data set is this? What type of data set is this? Classification data set. As you can see here, you're having this is your output column, right? Purchase, because it is your dependent variable. Okay, so if you see, you're having your output column fixed as either 0 or 1, 0 or 1. Throughout your data set, you'll be having either 0 or 1. Okay, so that's why we call it as data set. That's why going to call it as classification data set. So on what basis you are telling age is independent? Well, because sometimes salary is dependent on age also. Please clarify. So initially, Shivakumar sir, so initially we don't directly come into conclusion that these are independent variables or these are dependent variables. For any given data set or for any given problem statement, you will be having specific guidelines stating that these are the parameters which are required for the prediction of your output column. Okay, so based on that, we are going to say that as independent variable or dependent variable. For any given data set, you'll be having a small description to that. Okay, so either or, that is one way to know whether it's independent variable or dependent variable. And one more way is through statistical methods, like by evaluating by using visualizations, whether it is dependent on any other variable or not. Okay, by finding out the correlation between the age and the purchased column, you're going to identify whether it is responsible for the prediction of purchased or not, purchased column or not. Okay, so one way is by visualization, and one way is to statistical methods, which is correlation, whether that age parameter is responsible for purchased column or not, whether purchase column is dependent on age column or not. Based on those parameters, we are going to identify it as whether that column is whether age is and whether age is responsible for predicting the item, purchasing the item or not. Okay, so here gender, age, and estimated salary are the three independent variables, and purchase is your dependent variable. Yes. Okay, so yeah, that's what we have to do analysis on it. So we have to find the correlation between age and purchase, whether it is what do you call, whether it is increasing, whether age is dependent on purchase or not, whether age is estimated dependent on estimated salary or not. Okay, so based on that correlation factor, we are going to identify it. Okay, so in layman terms, as I've said, for any given data set, you'll be having a description about that, stating that so we need to perform a classification task which consists of a purchase as your dependent variable, and it totally depends on whether to consider age or not. Okay, so if you want to consider age, then we have to, if you want to include age, we have to perform the correlation or the visualizations to make sure whether you're going to add age column or not. Okay, so it is clear here, purchase is your output column which we need to be which need to be predicted. Okay, and gender, age, and estimated salary are your independent variables which are responsible for predicting the purchased column. And user id is just a number which doesn't have any resemblance, that's why you're going to ignore this one. Okay, so we're going to use this data set for building our model. Okay, so first of all, to build this model, all of you just open your Chromes, open your Chrome. I'm sharing my screen, just a minute. Okay, in this, search for Google Colab, search Google Colab. Okay, hope all of you open. So in this, you'll be having Google Colab option in the beginning itself. Just click on this Google Colab. So Google Colab is online IDE, okay, online Jupyter notebook, where we can just hide or build models in this Google Colab itself. Okay, So initially you'll be asked to log into your Gmail accounts. If you're logged in, you'll be automatically coming in, will be getting this kind of a page. Okay. So first of all, hope all of you got this screen. Welcome to Collaboratory, this kind of page. If you already log into your account of Gmail, you'll be getting this. Okay. So now what you have to do is, once you got this one, click on new notebook. You can see here, click on new notebook. Click on new notebook. Okay. Hope all of you got this one. Untitled.ipynb. Okay. So now what you have to do is, so just rename it to some classification model. Just give it as a name as classification model. Okay, so these are the interactive cells. We are going to write our coding. We're going to perform our, we're going to build our model using this code blocks which you're having. Okay, done on the chats. All of you, is it done till here? Just make it fast. Yeah. First of all, what you have to do is go to Google Colab. Okay, go to Google Colab, search for Google Colab. Okay, so when you open Google Colab, you'll be getting the first page itself. You have to log into your Gmails. Okay, once you're logged in, just click on new notebook. Is it okay, Arpita ma'am? Just click on new notebook. Okay, once you click on new notebook, you will be getting this kind of a page. Okay, rename it to classification model. Okay, so hope all of you are in this page. Okay, now just click on this folder icon. You can see here folder icon. To the left side you're having folder icon. This folder, what you're going to do is we're going to load the data set into our Google Colab. So for that you require this one. So just click on this folder icon here. So you're having this connecting to runtime to enable the browsing files. Just wait for it to get connected. So you can see you're connecting. Okay. So here you'll be getting it like this. Just wait for some time to get it like this. Hope all of you got this one. You have to click on this folder option and you'll be getting connecting and all. After some time you'll be getting this kind of a page. Is it done? On the chats. Okay, now just click on this icon which you're having upload to session storage. You're having this icon, right? So just click on this icon. So when you click on that icon, I'm just showing it one more time. Just click on this icon, first icon you're having. When you click on this icon, you will be asked to, you'll be open with your system files. From the system files, wherever you have downloaded your dataset, load your dataset. Go to that location, just like how you upload images. In the same way, go to your dataset and load your dataset. you'll be having name called social networking underscore ads. Just select that and just click on open. So you'll be getting your data set like this. Did you get it or not? Okay, so your data set is being loaded onto your Google Colab. Now we can just use this data set and build your model. Okay, shall we start, all of you? Yes, ma'am. You have to just click on this one, this icon which you're having here. When you click on this, you'll be getting system files open. Load your data set. Okay, where are you having your data set loaded? Just select that and just click on open. Okay, so here now we are going to build our model. Okay, so for building our model, we require some packages. We'll be using some methods of those respective packages. Gaurav Kumar sir, I've already given you the dataset in the file link. I'm just giving you one more time. Shivakumara sir, you have to just click on this upload icon here. Can anyone of you just share the data set? Because I'm not able to share it. I don't know what. Share the data set. You're having the file option, right? Share it over there. Yeah, thank you. Okay. Yeah. So now we're going to build our model using different packages and different methods. Okay. The first of all, the packages which are required are import numpy as np. I'm just maximizing my screen. Just let me wait for a minute. Okay, so import numpy as np, and numpy is used for numerical computations. Okay, so import pandas as pd, import lib.pyplot as plt. So numpy is for numerical computations in your while you're building your model. Pandas is to load your data sets into your model and to perform data manipulations, and matplotlib is used for visualizations. Okay, so these are the three packages which we require. So I'm just pasting it on the chat also, so that it will be easier for you, for your convenience. Okay, so these are the three packages. To run this cell, use shift enter, use shift plus enter, use shift plus enter. You'll be getting a new cell. Okay, so why we require this package? Because we will be using it in our while you are building your model. Okay, yeah. Next one is loading your data set. So to load your data set, we have to give the data set location. So I'll just give it as data set equal to pd dot read underscore csv. If you see the extension of your data set, we are having csv as extension. So read underscore csv of, okay, so you can just give directly the name of the data set. Okay, you can just rename it, copy it and paste it here. Okay, so read underscore pd, in the sense from the pandas we are having a method called read underscore csv, which is used for reading your data set. So pandas p dot read underscore csv print data set. Okay, to execute it, press shift enter. So your data set is being loaded. You can see here your data set is being loaded. I'm just pasting parallelly on the charts, so kindly just check it once. Okay, if you're not able to type, I'm just pasting it on the chat. Okay, so this is your data set which is being read. So you can see here gender, age, estimated salary, purchase, and all the columns are present here. So total number of rows are 400 rows with 5 columns. Okay. So next one is the next step in your model building to check whether there are any null values or not. So these are the steps of pre-processing to check whether there are any null values or not. As we are not going in detail about model building, I'm just giving an overview explanation about this model building, as we need to concentrate more on model evaluation. Okay, so I'm just building your model here. So once you have loaded the data set, okay, once you have loaded the data set, now you have to check whether you're having any null values or not, because if you're having any null values, your data set won't allow you to apply different operations of numpy or pandas. Okay, so that's the reason your data set should not be having null values. Null values are nothing but empty values. There might be some x factors which might which might lead to removing which might lead to having null values. Okay, null values are nothing but empty records. Okay, suppose due to some typing when you are loading your data sets itself, or when the data set is being prepared. Okay, so due to some reasons there might not be a particular column not filled, or a particular record left as empty. Okay, so in those cases we cannot go and check each and every record, right? So for that reason we are having is null. To check the null values, we are having a method called isNull.any. Dataset.isNull.any. This will give you whether you're having any null values or not. So you can see here false represents you are not having null values for each and every column. If you're having any true, then any column consists of true, that represents you're having a null value. So here you're not having any null values. Okay, so there are no null values in our data set. If you're having null values, then you have to perform then you have to handle those null values by filling them with mean, median, or there are different methods. As of now, in this scenario, we are not having any null values, so we'll just proceed on to the next step. Okay, so since we don't require user ID, as user ID is not required, okay, it doesn't come under input variables or output variables. Okay, so that's the reason we're going to remove that. To remove that, you're going to use dataset dot drop off so you have to just give the name of the user ID, the name of the column which you want to drop. Okay, comma. So if you want to drop that particular record, particular column, then you're going to use axis equal to 1. So axis equal to 1 represents to remove the column. Axis equal to 0 represents to remove a row. Okay, so since we are going to remove a column, we are going to use axis equal to 1. I'm going to store it in this data set variable again back. Okay, to get the updation, or we can also use one more parameter called inplace equal to true, but it might confuse you. As of now, to drop that column, I'm going to use data set. So if you check your data set, so the unique user ID column is being removed. Okay, I just pasted on the chat. So once we have removed that user ID column, we are not having any null values. We are not having any what do you call? Uh, yeah, we have removed the unwanted column. Okay. So next one is to check whether how many categories of gender are there. Okay. So though if you're having a familiar, though we cannot go throughout the data set, so we can also use it in such a way to know how many value, how many categories. As you can see here, we are having a gender column. Okay, gender column is nothing but a categorical column. Okay, if you see here, sorry. Just a minute. Okay, so to know how many categories are there, since gender is a categorical column, right? You're having male, female, categorical column, fixed column. So we're going to check how many categories are there. To check how many categories are there in that categorical column, we're going to use a data set dot value underscore counts. So if you see here, how many male are there, how many female are there? Okay, so since we are having sorry, data set of gender, capital G, I'm sorry. So we have to check for gender, right? Value underscore counts. So you can see here we are having total 204 records consisting of female, 196 records consisting of male. Okay, just to know about your data, I'm just given this one. Okay, value underscore counts. Okay, so now since we are having a categorical column which is gender, so our algorithms are sensitive for this categorical columns. That means our algorithms, like what a logistic regression which I've said, that excuse me, that algorithm is sensitive for categorical columns. Categorical column sense text information. You should have only numerical information. So if you see your data set, we are having only text information. In the gender column, you'll be having male and female, right? Okay, so that's the reason, since we are having a categorical column, we need to convert them into numerical column such that we can just apply it on our data set. Okay, apply it on our algorithm. So for that reason, I'm going to use a package called label encoder. So from sklearn dot pre-processing import label encoder. Okay, so from sklearn.preprocessing import label encoder. So this is mainly used for converting your numerical columns, categorical columns into numerical values. Okay, so label encoder will convert categorical columns into numerical columns. Okay, so I'll just execute this one, shift enter to execute it. Okay, so for this label encoder to perform this, what you have to do is, what label encoder will do is, it will first sort it in the form of alphabetical order, and what are the first record you will be getting, that record will be given as 0. First what are the value you're going to have, female, so for suppose it will be assigned with 0, male will be assigned with 1. If you're having any other category, it will be assigned with 2. If you're having any other category, it will be assigned with 3. Like that, whenever it finds a new category, it assigns a number. Okay, so we're going to assign a number to that. So I'm going to apply, going to create an object for this label encoder. Create an object for this label encoder. LB is my object. So I'm going to apply this label encoder on, if you just add a cell, just a second. If you print your data set, so this is your gender, age, and estimated salary and purchase, right? We have to apply that label encoding on the gender column. So to represent this gender column, we can use indexing as 0, 1, 2, 3, like that. Okay. So if you want reference gender, we're going to use 0 index. Okay. So to get that, use, am I audible now? Just create an object of label encoder. Okay. So we have to apply it on the 0th index. So to apply it on a 0th index, so we have to apply lb dot fit underscore transform. We are having a method fit underscore transform. Of, so to reference any column, we are going to use iloc. So data set iloc of colon comma 0. Colon comma 0 represents 0th index, okay, or the first row, 0th row. Okay, this I'm going to apply it on the same dot iloc of colon comma 0. Okay, so I'm going to apply it here. I'm going to perform the transformation. I'm going to return back on the same index. Okay, now print the data set. Now if you can see here, the gender column is replaced with zeros and ones. Okay, so we have performed it on 0th index. Okay, so LB is called label encoder of colon comma 0 LB dot fit transform of dataset dot iloc of colon comma 0. Okay, once we got that converted, now the next step is to separate out independent and dependent variables. Next step is to separate out independent and dependent variables. So if you see here, our independent variables are gender, age, and estimated salary. Our dependent variable is purchase. To separate it out, I can just use it as x is equal to data set of, in a double array. Yeah, LB is nothing but, Geeta ma'am, so LB is nothing but an object which you have given to this label encoder. Okay, the object for this label encoder, and LB is, label encoder is having a method called fit transform, which converts into your zeros and ones format. Okay, on which column you have to perform? I have to perform on 0th index. So if you are confusing with the syntax here, iloc syntax is, you'll be having 2 colons initially. This is for the rows and this is for the column. So you want all the rows to be selected, and I want only 0th index. Okay, I want only 0th index. That's the reason, because 0th index is your gender index. That's the reason I performed on that 0th index, so that I'll be getting the transformation. I'm going to update it on this 0th index itself. What is the difference between import and from? So import, in the sense, it will import all the, suppose if you import sklearn, all the packages which are there in that sklearn will be imported. If you want only a specific package, so from this package import only this one. That's what the difference between import and from. Okay, now I want to separate out independent and dependent variables. So to separate out independent and dependent variables, I have to give the column names. So I want gender to be separated, comma, age. Make sure the syntax is correct. Okay, age to be separated in a double array because you're having rows and columns, and estimated salary. Okay, dot values. So this dot values are used to convert pandas into pandas data frame into NumPy array. Initially, your data set will be in data frame, which is one of the data types in pandas. Okay, so I'm going to convert pandas data frame into NumPy array. The reason for converting it back into NumPy array, because to get our executions faster, NumPy's arrays execution is faster than pandas. Okay, now print x. So you can see an array of your values are being separated out. Okay, now in the same way, separate out your purchased column also, which is your y. We are going to represent independent variables with x, dependent variables with y. Okay, so y equal to data set double array of purchased. Dot values, which will convert pandas data frame into NumPy array. Okay, print y. So you can see here separated out your x and y. Why we are separating it? Because we have to give inputs and outputs separately to your algorithm. Okay, then only it can build a model. Okay, that's the schema which is being followed. Okay, is it until here? Let me know once on the chat. Okay, if you want to check the type of your y, okay, type is nothing but to know the data type of your y. Use a type of y to know the data type of your y. As I've said, it will be NumPy array. If you want to check it, type of y, NumPy n dimension array. If you want to check with type of x, NumPy n dimension array. So dot values will convert your pandas data frame into NumPy array. If you want to check the type of data set, okay, because what are the data set which was loaded? Pandas core frame data frame. Okay, this is the data frame. We are converting from data frame to NumPy array. How you going to convert it? Using dot values. Okay, this not required, these steps just for your information. Okay, so once we got our separated values, the next thing is to separate out independent, to split your data into train and test data. To split your data set into train and test data. Okay, so train and test data is nothing but, as I've said in the beginning of the session, we don't use all the data for building your model. We'll be leaving 20% of the data for testing your model. So what data need to be left, what data need to be used for training will be decided by this one. So from sklearn dot model underscore selection, import train test split. From sklearn.model underscore selection, import train test split. This is used for splitting your data into train data and test data. Okay, so x underscore train comma x underscore test comma y underscore train comma y underscore test. These are the outputs you're going to get when you apply your data on your train test method, train test package of x comma y, input and output. How much you want to leave for test size? So test underscore size equal to, I'm going to leave it as 0.2. 0.2 represents 20% of the test data need to be left out and 80% used for training. Comma random underscore uniform, randomly it will select. Random underscore state. Okay, So this will split your data into train data and test data. Okay, now if you print x underscore train, this is your train data's inputs. Okay, if you want to check the shapes also, no need to type this one, just check it here. Firstly, our shape of x, that means total number of records which are there in XR. Total number of records which are there in the XR 400 and 3 columns. Okay, 400 records you're having. Now I've split it, right, x train and x test. So x underscore train contains 80%, which is nothing but 80% of 400, which is something around 320. Okay, in the same way, if you want to check the x test shape, which is nothing but 80 records, x test dot shape. Okay, so once we got your train data and test data separated out, okay, next is applying it on our model. So for building our model, we are going to use a package from sklearn dot linear underscore model import logistic. Your algorithms will be already present in this scikit-learn package, sklearn package. Logistic regression. Okay, so in this package, we are going to have our algorithm. We are going to apply our data on the algorithm to get our model. Okay, so I'm going to apply it. So how to apply it? Just create an object LR equal to, you can just use any object, logistic regression. Okay, execute this one. So to apply it, LR dot fit of x underscore train, you're going to apply only train data, comma y underscore train, which is your outputs of your train data. Okay, so your model is built, your model is present in this LR. So just a warning, no need to worry about it. Okay, so your model will be present in the object of your logistic regression. LR is your model. Okay, so to predict your model, okay, to test your model, first we have to get predictions, right? So to get the predictions, as we are having test data inputs, x underscore test, if you print x underscore test, so these are your test data inputs, right? Okay, so when you give these test data inputs to your model, which is LR, it will just give some predictions which we need to compare with our y underscore test, because these are test information, test outputs. These are the outputs of the respective test data inputs, test data outputs. Okay, so I'm going to use LR dot predict of x underscore test. Okay, it has given some predictions. Okay, sorry, in between we have missed out something, which is okay, so in between we have missed out one important step, which is standard scaling. Okay, so why we need to perform standard scaling? As you can see here, whenever you're having your data set, if you just check your data set 1 second, x underscore print x once. So if you see here, whenever you're having a large variation between your independent variables, you can see here 1, 1, 0, 19, 35, 26, and 19,000. You're having a large variation here, right? So whenever you're having large variation between your independent variables, we have to scale them. You have to perform standard scaling on it. Okay, we have to perform standard scaling on this data set. So that's the reason standard scaling is nothing but normalizing. You all know what is normalizing is. Normalizing is nothing but bringing them into one particular scale. Okay. So we're going to perform the normalizing. Can you please mute your audios? Okay, so we are going to perform standard scaling. So to perform standard scaling, I'm going to perform it way above this step. Just a second. I'll tell you where you have to perform that. Just give me a minute. So yes, go back to where you have separated your X and Y. Okay, here we have separated your X and Y, right? We need to perform standard scaling here to get your normalized values. So here, just check it here once we got your X and Y, add a cell here. Add a cell here. To add a cell, just print, click on the cell and press A. A cell will be added. So we need to perform standard scaling on your X. So import the standard scaling package. So from sklearn.preprocessing, here you have to add it. Don't worry, I'll be sharing the notebook. Okay. So from sklearn.preprocessing, import standard scalar. So SC is the object of standard scalar. Okay, after apply it on X, X is equal to SC dot fit underscore transform of X. Okay, print X. Okay, these are the standard scaled values. We have to perform standard scaling such that it will bring them all into one single scale. Okay, so once you have performed this, added this step, just execute all the remaining cells one more time. Shift enter, shift enter, shift enter. I'm just pasting this one on the chat also. Just go to this place where you have done separation of X and Y. Once you have done the separation of X and Y, once you have done the separation of X and Y, there you have to perform standard scaling such that you'll be getting the normalized values. Now once we got the normalized values, okay, execute it one more time from that step. Use shift enter to execute it one more time. You'll be getting separated values again. You'll be getting your model built again. So you can see the predictions changed. Okay, the reason for that is as we didn't perform standard scaling, that's the reason you got different predictions over there. But we need to perform standard scaling to get our results. Okay, so as I've said, standard scaling is for normalizing your values. So once we got the predictions here, these are next thing is to evaluate your models. The final steps, just kindly wait for a minute to get the evaluations to check whether how well your model is performing. The first one is confusion matrix. So import these. So from sklearn.preprocess, sorry. So from sklearn.metrics, import confusion matrix. So this confusion matrix requires only y test and y pred. So here what you do is just store it in a variable called y underscore pred equal to lr.predict of y underscore test. So y underscore pred, execute this one, the same thing will be printed. Okay, don't worry, I'll be sharing the notebook. Okay, so here confusion matrix of y underscore test comma y underscore pred. So this is the confusion matrix which we got. Okay, so total 40 records with true positive and 26 records with true negative, false positive and false negative. Okay, this is what we got in our slides if you remember. Okay, now to calculate your AUC ROC curve, or we'll just go for that. First, just perform this precision and F1 score and all. If you see here, comma accuracy score also. Just a minute. In 5 minutes, you're going to complete it. Okay, so we're going to calculate accuracy score. Can you please mute your audios, please? Okay, so we're going to perform. Okay, so we're going to check what is the accuracy score of, so y_test, comma y_pred. So I got some accuracy score as 82%. Okay, that means 82% I'm getting correct predictions. Okay, in the same way, recall is used how your negative values or zeros are predicted, how zeros are predicted. So use the same y_pred, comma y_test. I got some 76%. So whatever the precision or whatever the recall score or what are the F1 score, accuracy score, it should be minimum of more than 70%. Then only we can go for the next step for the deployment of the model. Okay, you have to make sure that you're having score greater than 70%. Y_test, comma y_pred. 76. Okay, sorry, y_test and actual data and predicted data. Yeah, recall is nothing but true positive by true positive plus false negative. It is nothing but how well your negative records are performing. I mean to say negative records in the sense zeros. How many zeros are predicted? How zeros are predicted? Okay, recall will give you the accuracy of the negative records. Precision will give you the prediction of your positive records. That means 1 records. Okay, so TP, if you have seen the formula here, TP by TP plus FN is your recalls formula. Okay, TP is nothing but this one, TP TN FPFN. Okay, so finally the AUC ROC curve. So to draw the AUC ROC curve, the final step, from sklearn.metrics, metrics as metrics, import as metrics. Okay, so FPR and TPR can be calculated from this ROC curve. Okay, so metrics.AUC, to get your AUC value, we have to provide with FPR and TPR. So this is your AUC value. If you are remembered, you have to get more than 70%. We got something around 82% as AUC. Okay, and to get the curve, we're going to plot it with between FPR and TPR. So PLT matplotlib, we had matplotlib, right? In the beginning, we have imported the package. So from that, we're going to plot the graph between FPR and TPR. So you can see the curve here, 0.82. So you got the ideal curve, right? I mean to say the perfect curve, which is 0.82 under it. Area under curve is 0.82. Okay, and we got our model AC value as 0.82. I'm just pasting it on the chat. So that's how we are going to evaluate. Okay, so to evaluate your models, you have to make sure that, yeah, in when it comes to multi-class classification, also we are having conversion matrix available. Okay, you can just refer to scikit-learn scikit-learn what do you call page, where you can find multi-class classification also present in it. Yeah, that's what from the curve it says that. So if you remembered our slides here, just a second. Just a second. If you remember our slides, if you see your ROC curve, so this is your ideal curve. I mean to say the perfect distribution. This kind of distribution we got AUC with 0.7. We got something around 0.82. This is your 100% accuracy curve, which is not which is an ideal curve. Okay. And coming to the precision, TP by TP plus Fn, which is nothing but the calculation of TP by TP plus Fn is nothing, FP is nothing but precision. F1 score the same multiplied by precision into recall by precision plus recall. Okay. And recall is nothing but TP by TP plus Fn. Okay. So with this way we are going to evaluate it. So how you're going to know whether it is a good model or not? More than 0.7. Okay. If you see your all the values, we got more than 0.7, which is a good model. Okay. These are values which you got in the same way, right? Okay. So in this way, you can see here. So these are first confusion matrix, accuracy score, recall. Okay. So nothing here. We have provided the test data to it. Okay. It has made predictions, and we are going to compare it with this Y test. That's it. You're just comparing it with this Y test. Okay. So these are Y test values. These are our Y prediction values. So how are the prediction values of are they getting the actual values or not? That's what we're going to check it out. Okay. Just let me know whether you're having any yeah. So the conclusion would be your model is performing well. Okay. The accuracy is more. It is also giving correct predictions for the positive values as well as negative values also. It's not only just concentrating only on the positive predictions. It is also concentrating well with the model is concentrating well with the negative predictions, as we got precision and recall with more than 7. Okay. So this model can be in the next step will be going for the deployment, where you can just integrate it to a web application where you can just get the predictions. Okay. So if you want to do a survey, or if you want to know whether a person is going to purchase this item or not. Okay. If the customer wants to know in the next decade, or sorry, in the next year, whether this particular item can be purchased by that person or not. Okay. So you'll be just feeding all this information which is being gathered from the users, and we'll be just applying it onto our model. It will be giving some predictions. Based on the predictions, he can just concentrate only on the people who got predictions that whether he's going to purchase this item, so that he can just perform kind of a marketing, or he can just build a kind of a strategy out of it. Okay. So in that way we can just build this kind of a model. Okay. So that's it from my side. Anyone having any doubts? Though I'll be sharing you this model file. Okay. I'll just download it and give it to you. Just wait for a minute. I'll just download it in the chat itself. Okay. So anyone, any doubts? Though the session is 1.5 hour itself, I've managed it to make you understand the whole concept. Okay. So hope all of you have understood this one.
So good morning, madam. Sir,
Yeah, good
myself
morning.
Shiv Kumar. It's a wonderful, nice session. What we had clearly explained all the steps in this one. We need a few more model explanation, like cyber security related models.
Okay.
Any other questions from the participants? Thank you, Surya sir, for a wonderful session. It was really informative, and you have touched the practical part also. Thanks a lot for accepting our invitation and giving a wonderful presentation. Thanks a
Yeah,
lot. sir.
thank you, ma'am. Thank you.